Yo, 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 what is up, Halo fam? It is episode number 43 of the Grand Adventures with Wes. With that being said, look at this guy, shades on everything. Skip all the introductions. Wes, what's been going on? What you been up to, man?
Went to Cali this past weekend, became a Cali kid. No, enjoyed the beautiful weather. Figured I'd rock the sunglasses still. It was a great time, man.
More than just the beautiful weather, right?
I was hanging out the side of the car window half the time, going surfs up, and asking which way's the beach and how's the tide looking today, and everybody was looking at me like I was crazy, but I got a good laugh out of it. So, it's typical Cali kid stuff, no big deal. Just surfs up, hang loose, all the fun stuff. But had a great time. Went to a wedding. Rocked out on the dance floor. Had to do it big. Had to stand out, and overall, just enjoyed a little mini vacation, and now back to work.
You posted some pictures. There were some views, man.
All right.
It was a vibe.
It was a good vibe, man. It was a good vibe.
Well, glad you had a good time wedding it up over the weekend. Those are always fun. Faisal, what about you, man? How's your weekend been?
It's been great. Similar to, I got to take notes from Wes on how to be a Cali kid, because my trip to Cali is also coming up, and I'm excited. I'm gonna hit up Wes to figure out all the do's and don'ts of a Cali kid.
Only do's. There's no don'ts.
See, I'm learning already. So I'm looking forward to that. My cousin's postponed bachelor party. His plan was to actually go to Canada and go to Banff at the beginning of last year. Obviously, with the pandemic, all the traveling and everything of that sort was extremely difficult, and we called an audible. So now we're going to Yosemite and California. So I'll get to check that out. Looking forward to some outdoor adventures, just hiking and kind of checking out Cali, the city. We're going to be in San Fran for a night, be in LA for a night. So a lot of stuff to look forward to.
I like the way you're going to hit up Wes for Cali kid ideas and not me, who
I'm
here
Cali kid.
Yeah, because if you're wearing sunglasses, you automatically have more credibility in any conversation. So, like, this guy right here is he's just look Cali kid. I got it.
Absolutely. Just hang loose. Just always check the tide,
That's what I'm going to for my information.
I mean, you will succeed in that way for sure. I was in Yosemite maybe 2 years ago with my wife, Faisal, and there's certain spots where when you're standing there, you literally feel like you're on an alien planet. It's so cool. Like, there's just such sick views. So you're gonna enjoy that. For me, my weekend was actually kind of similar to Wes's. My sister-in-law got married this weekend, so last night turned up a little bit on the dance floor as well. Got loose with it, shook my tail feather, whatever. Hung out with my little dude. My son was rocking his bow tie and suspenders as well. We had a blast, and so weddings are fun when it's family weddings. I feel like it's so much better to go when it's a family member, right? Because it's like everybody there. When it's like a friend, sometimes you end up at like these weddings where nobody. You're at a table by yourself. You're like,
that was me this weekend, but I just drank.
You just rolled with it
and just stole the.
And then everyone's family at that point. He just drinks so much. Everyone's family.
No, me and the groom had no connection at all, and we ended up just having a blast on the dance floor. Like, probably boys now at this point. I'm surprised I'm not. I might be a best man in a wedding coming up soon here in Cali. So
I mean, you might be the best man in yours, dude. You never know, right? You guys are boys now like that.
Yeah, we had a good time.
Glad you had a great time. I know this is a Halo podcast, but you guys have any quick thoughts on the first couple games? The playoffs started this weekend as well for basketball. I know we're all basketball playoffs fans. Faisal, you look like you're itching to. Oh, your dog is going off. Anyways, anything stand out to you, Faisal, for the first couple games?
Man, it's all about the young guns, right? Like we're seeing Jason Tatum drop a 50-piece in the playing game. Devin Booker, was it 37, 7 and 8 or something like that. Trae Young with the game winner, telling the New York Knicks fans dude, that's crazy, So for me,
you got the best one of them.
Am I forgetting? I'm sure I am.
That boy,
Luka.
That boy down
Luka
in Dallas.
Doncic, right? So
that guy's
just
cold.
Dropping bodies. I was reading some stat, like he's played 7 NBA playoff games, all of them against the Clippers, obviously, because he played them in the first round last year. Now he's playing them again. And in those 7 games, he's averaging like 31, 9, and 10 or something like that. Can you believe that?
For a child, too.
Against the Clippers, the so-called like defensive lockdown, Kawhi, Paul George, Pat Bev, and he's averaging that. So
I'm surprised that Wes didn't say, like, when you said the most important one, I thought you were going to say something about Ja, seeing as they're from Memphis.
The Grizzlies don't win that series. Don't get
my
the Grizzlies don't win that series. Stop.
They beat the Spurs and they ruined the playoffs by beating the Warriors, in my opinion. Man, I wanted that first round. I wanted that first round.
The Grizzlies are who they are. They're one of the 7 best teams in the West.
I mean, the West is hard, so I'll take it. I'm still sitting here.
I'm a big Ja fan. I'll say that.
That dude is cold, man. I'm just pissed at AD right now, to be honest. I'm still fuming. I need the man to just be better. Granted, I'm not in trouble. I'm not freaking out until we lose game 2, because last year, if you remember, we lost every game 1 ever. So I'm not tripping, but dude, that boy AD needs to get his butt in the block, dude, and just start botting people up. That's been really annoying. But to the Halo news,
big shout out to Phil Mickelson winning a major at 50. Pretty incredible.
That's crazy.
He golfed his butt off, and it was pretty impressive to watch.
Can you imagine losing to a 50-year-old?
I mean, when he golfs that good, you don't have much of an option.
If I lost to a 50-year-old, Brand, I might. That's crazy. But I mean, in golf, I guess the experience, you just get better and better and better.
Look, we got Tom Brady, we got LeBron James, we got Phil. I mean, come on. Like,
but you just said it was about the young guns there like 2 seconds ago.
This guy over here talking about these old. When you talk these old heads, as you so call them, or taking
pick the sticks back up.
Yeah, man.
Wes is coming back on the scene.
I think we hit the prime, around that 40 mark. So start sharpening your skills now, I guess.
Yeah, but with that being said, let's jump into some Halo action. I know Faisal, you're a little caught up on things coming up in the Halo scene. So why don't you walk us through the latest news for the HCS and esports scene?
Yeah, but actually, it's courtesy of noobcombo.com. I think we have the graphic for it. Shout out to these guys, always throwing out some dates and information for the Halo community. And I saw this on the timeline earlier. I wanted to bring it up on the show just in case anyone watching out there or listening wants to get involved in some competitive Halo. Here's a schedule that you can use kind of as a guideline. So the 24th, obviously that was today. It was I actually wasn't keeping up with that. The H3 2v2 ladder, how did that end up going today? We'll get into it. Also, we had the ESM League H5 2021 season week 7 coming up on the 29th. The Penn Halo, obviously, shout out to those guys, always doing the Halo community justice. They got an H3 2v2 and then the H5 2v2 Europa EGL 4v4. Shout out to Europa team, everyone over there. They're always putting on a good production, and of course, finishing it off with the esports arena H5 4v4 tournament. And we actually had a H5 4v4 esports arena tournament, and I'm gonna pass it on over to Captain Clutch West to give you guys a breakdown. Of course, we have the champions. West, tell the people.
Yeah, it's Team Zen was the champions, and these are guys you all know. I feel like they win every esports tournament. Arena tournament nowadays. It's Frosty, Penguin, Renegade, Stellar, taking first place. But there was KCP that got second, and there was also an MV roster that was pretty exciting that got third. Ola came back and competed for the first time in a bit.
Wait, Ola played in it on Sunday?
Yeah, and the fourth was Spartan in place of APG on that MV roster. They got third. I would expect them to be able to potentially keep up with this Team Zen in the future if Ola can get his feet on the ground and hit the ground running, because the rest of those guys have been playing a lot. I know Ola's probably getting back into the swing of things, but it's good to see one of the GOATs come back, compete in a little tournament, get his toes wet and hopefully start swimming here pretty soon. So big things over there. I know also want to give a big shout out to somebody that I've been throwing on their Twitch every morning, and that's Elamite. And Elamite has been going back and rewatching all of the previous Halos, and giving a little bit of commentary, having some side guests. So big shout out to him. He's been doing some fun little content there where you can watch kind of the history of Halo go down and watch previous tournaments and get Elamite's thoughts on it. It's kind of weird because every time I go there, he's playing like the same tournaments that he won a lot. But
he didn't win a lot in Halo 3, though. In his defense,
didn't you watch this yesterday? But just giving him a hard time. Obviously, he won a lot in Halo 3, so there's a lot of tournaments for him to watch of that. So I just feel like that's like a new, strange, like interesting type of content that streamers are starting to get into, and for people that weren't around during that period of time, for people that like didn't witness some of these events, like that's an opportunity for them to go back, maybe check those out and see the greatness of Victory X, Elamite Warrior here itself. Some of these guys that were so dominant back then, you're going to be able to see like that live tournament atmosphere with a little bit of specific content from Elamite Warrior.
I love the behind the scenes stuff he talks about.
Exactly.
You like pause it, you know, and then go into it.
His commentary is always so funny because Kyle naturally, you know, is just
he's a goofy dude.
Yeah, he's a goofy dude, and he's funny. Like honestly, anytime he's in a room, he'll always be making the room laugh. And then he'll have special guests. Like he had Ola. I believe he's watching with Ace. Well, obviously, that's his brother, but he'll always have people on watching those commentaries, and it's been entertaining for sure.
But we can get back to the big topic for today. So the Halo esports Twitter, the HCS, made a very interesting tweet this weekend, and everybody had different replies. Everyone had jokes, and people took it serious. And it was going to be the question: who would be on your Halo Mount Rushmore, like skyline? Like, who are the 4 faces you would put to represent the history of Halo? And we have it up here on screen. All sorts of replies to this, right? You had Maniac trolling that he would put 4 Maniacs up there. You had a bunch of people putting lethal, and lethal up there who that could potentially be right. You had a lot of old school people. Eli the Ninja went and said,
right?
Ogre 2, Walshy, T Squared, and Karma. It's a little bit of a throwback, right? You're talking old school players there. But just taking like
Kratos put himself, dude.
Yeah.
Oh my! What do you have to say about Kratos saying himself? Right? Let's do a quick little.
No,
we should do a full screen of Wes.
I'm not a Kratos fan. You don't. I'm not even going to entertain that. He knows his place in Halo, I hope, and he'll probably never tell you what his place in Halo was. But he can have one of those little stones at the bottom of the hill and have his face on it, I guess.
Oh man!
I mean, second place one time probably gets you a little rock at the bottom that was chipped off years ago, right?
We got Adam's top 4, Ogre 1, Ogre 2, Squared, and Walsh. What do you think about that one?
Those are just like a little old school for me, right? It's like I saw a lot of responses similar to that, and it's just like, yeah, if you made this list, I made a response. I said, like, if you made this list in 2007, that's probably the right like faces to the mountain, but like that's not even a half of the history of Halo at this point. Like to leave the most winning player of all time off that mountain is.
I agree. Lethal. I think Lethal has to be on there. Lethal and Tuger.
The most winning player at this point. Out of curiosity, no, like genuinely curious.
Monetary wise, it's not even.
No, of course. Tournament wise, I'm asking tournament number wise. I think Ogre 2 still has the most, but I think money wise, yeah, Lethal is definitely the guy.
I mean, you definitely had more GameStop tournaments like back then.
No.
Hater.
MLG tournaments or MLG tournaments. I don't care if they were 06, 07.
Let's see. We have Rob the Turtle,
Walshy, Tuger, Ola, Lethal. That's a pretty good list.
I don't hate that list. I think I actually like that list. I like the list a lot. I think that list has a little bit of the old, or a lot of the old, a little bit of the new.
Snipe down Lethal, Frosty, and Shotzi. Okay, that's a Halo 5 kid right there.
You can't put Shotzi on the Halo. I mean, as good as he was, you have to have longevity. I think it has to be a big fact.
We'll go into our list, but it's fun to see the. Different people's opinions.
Skill wise, I think like some of the best talent to ever touch a 6, Frosty would obviously. Well, maybe it's not obvious to everyone, but in my opinion, he is one of the like best players to ever play Halo. But just because of how much he lacks in the longevity column, I can't put him up there.
Yeah,
no, I'm the same way right there.
Yeah.
I can put Frosty as one of the greatest players of all time, but like when you're doing Mount Rushmore, it's not about like.
Wait, did you say Frosty or Shotzi?
Well, either one of them. Honestly.
Yeah, either one. I mean, Frosty might. I mean, you could at least have something to say, even though it wouldn't make the type.
He's done it longer than Shotzi has, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, let's go around the horn. Let's start with Faisal, and let me hear what your Mount Rushmore for Halo all time is, Faisal.
Okay, so I think there's only one spot that's negotiable. So for me, Ogre 2, Lethal, and Walshy. For me, okay? For me, those 3 have to be on my Mount Rushmore I mean, various reasons. What were we gonna say, Wes?
Oh, we got 2 spots that are open for interpretation, I guess.
Oh my gosh.
So, and that 4th spot for me, I'm gonna have to put Ola on there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have to put Ola on there because of how he's just been, even amongst, because in my opinion, like what the pro players think has a big say in my head for when I decide something on this, right? So all those players I mentioned, I feel like are like renowned pro players, even amongst the group of pros, like everyone knows, where they stand in Halo's history. And Ola has been just that dominant, individually skilled, great teammate in every era of Halo, like in my head, right? Obviously not Halo 1, but like any pro, whether it's Ogre 2, whether it's Trippy, whether it's Lethal, whether it's Snipe Down, whether it's Saiyan, whether it's Walsh, everyone's saying, oh, that kid's a freak. He's disgusting.
Yeah, and he was also he was similar in my mind to he kind of had the Shotzzy effect before Shotzzy did, where he kind of broke the game and was doing things that people had never seen before. You know what I mean? And had a style that was like, man, like that's Ola. You could watch his screen and know that that's him without even knowing, like having to see a tag, right?
Yeah, very good way to put it. That's for people that don't know a lot about kind of the history of Halo and kind of how Ola has to be on the Mount Rushmore for me. I think Hunter put it really well. He's kind of like, if you know a Shotzzy, obviously in Halo and caught how dominant, Ola was very similar in the way when you just watch the screen, you're like, okay, he does something different, and you can call it movement, you can call it game knowledge. It's something. It's confidence. It's confidence on the map, and yeah. So that would be my Mount Rushmore: Ogre 2, Walshy, Lethal, and Ola.
All right, Wes, what about you, man?
All right, so we have 3 the same, and it's so hard to leave Dave off, but I'm gonna do it because when I look at the stint of like time that's passed, like longevity is where I'm going here. It's like it's the combination, and so I have Ogre 2 Lethal, like hands down. Anybody that doesn't have those 2 on their list, like your list is probably irrelevant to me. You haven't been watching Halo, or like you only watched 1 decade or 1 period. Those 2, not debatable. Ola's on mine as well. I think when you talk about longevity, he's been doing it longer than anyone that's ever done it at this point. If you actually look at the year he went pro and the fact that he's still a pro, he's
at an elite level, not even just a good, at an
elite level. Like there were ebbs and flows, like at points, but I mean, never was he out of the top 4.
Dude, no one wasn't gonna pick up Ola. Like Ola always had a spot on any team, like kind of. You know what I'm saying?
He's a great. There's no one like him. And then my 4th, suspense drum roll. I put Snakebite.
Ooh,
Snakebite's been doing it for 10 years now. Like actually 10 years. Like if you count
longer.
If you don't count, yeah, I'm talking about like at a high level. Like Snakebite,
he got top 6 in Halo 3 in 09, dude. Like that's
since 2011, Snakebite's been getting 2nd or better at every tournament. That's
wild.
That is 10 years of dominance, and because of it, I think he's changed the professionalism of Halo as well. Like I think he brings that, like he's made it a job where other people maybe gave a little less. Snakebite gives more. And I think that he's forced other people to kind of treat it like that. And like he has laid the groundwork for almost like how you're supposed to treat this opportunity, right? As a professional player. And his skill set speaks for himself. His placings speaks for himself. 2-time world champion, got 2nd at a national championship. Probably would have got 1st if I wasn't on the team and you give him fucking Ola or somebody, right? That's a joke. I actually carried those kids.
Ooh, I was gonna say, can we stop
dang,
for a second?
Humble moment from Wes. What?
Whoa!
Right, no, hey, we
humble moment. That was truth. He just spoke truth. It just came out.
Truth. I went 18-9 and we won a game 5 by 3 kills.
Oh my god!
Those kids were lost. We were a good team.
Yeah.
But that being said, like 2nd under Nat, so 1 series away from being a national champion, 2-time world champion. The guy's incredible. He ekes over Dave, but Dave has done what Dave did as a player, Snakebite is undouble, in my opinion.
Yeah.
What Dave has done outside of being a player makes it so close, right? Because Dave has impacted the scene, like with being an on-air talent, being a presence in the community, like stuff he does for Gamers for Giving. Like, I mean, Dave is
first Red Bull athlete.
Let me tell you something.
In all honesty, I'll carve Dave a head myself and make it 5 heads. Like, I'll get out there and start chipping on some stone.
I have some pushback on one of the things you said. So I think some of the credit you're giving to Snakebite, and when you explain how he lays down the groundwork, I think that's directly applicable to Dave. Dave Walsh is the one who set the framework for people like Snakebite to be in opportunities that they're in, which is why he's on my mount. I agree with you. I think as like a individual skill player, and even in terms of accomplishments in competitive Halo, Snakebite takes the edge there. But the way Walsh kind of just changed what gaming can be about and almost the perception of it. I think like the way he advertised himself, and he was so ahead of everything. Remember Cornetto? I know it didn't end up turning, but like 100 Thieves, like obviously they executed it better, but I think Walsh
They didn't have social media back then to do that, like
dude,
if they had social media,
Cornetto was live.
Dude,
I think the fact that, you know what I'm saying? So he, Red Bull, Cornetto, just like you said, he was doing media stuff. He in my head set the framework and the foundation, which allows players like, and don't get me wrong, Snakebite obviously has taken his opportunity and maximized it. He's in every way he's a champion. He's successful with his Halo career. But man, Dave, I think he has to have a spot on that.
I think to me, it's just like outside the game, Dave has done so much, and inside the game, he did a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Snakebite's in game, like the level that he plays at, I think gives him the edge over Dave. Like where Dave at times wasn't the strongest player on his team, I could never say that about Snakebite. Like even though he's teaming with Frosty and World 2, and those guys have great stats, like if you break down the gameplay and you watch Snakebite's point of view, I mean, the guy was a better version of me at all times.
I will push back just a little bit on that because we saw the full extent of Dave's career. We saw him, in his prime at the end of Halo 1 and in Halo 2.
Much longer than the extent of Dave's career.
But Dave is like 80 years old is what I'm saying. It's like at some point in time, everyone's going to have, the end of their day. And Dave just kept playing because he loved the game so much. He kept playing probably longer than a lot of players would, in their decline. And you could see him as he got older, slowing down and whatnot. But yeah, I just think that we haven't been around.
Didn't saying age is a number?
I mean, I'm talking about that was
okay.
Faisal. That was Faisal.
I was just making sure because you were the one that said age is a number.
No, that was Faisal.
No,
that was Faisal.
Stand by that.
Don't quote me with Faisal. Anyway,
we'll check the tape.
I want to let you finish up though on your Mount Rushmore West before I jump into mine.
No. Moral of the story is like it's so difficult to leave one of those 5 off for me. I'll get up there and I'll start chipping away some stone and I'll carve. It won't be done well, but I'll carve Dave a 5th head right next to him.
I think that's what makes this fun. I think if it was 5, it'd be a lot easier for all of us.
100%.
I'm really glad that we're doing this. Yeah, I'm really glad that we did this exercise because, in a way, it's kind of brought us together to see how similar we all are. And what I mean by that is, I actually shared 3 in common with Faisal, and I shared 3 in common with Wes, but they weren't the same 3. So for me, it's Ogre 2. I actually tweeted this, so it's not like I'm changing my answer right now. So it's Ogre 2, it's Lethal, and it's Snakebite, and it's Walsh, and I left Ola off. It was really hard. I was going to either have Ola or Snakebite. It was, but Dave and Tom and Tony were for sure going to be in there no matter what. I think my honorable mentions, it was Ola and Ogre 1 were there because like when you look at Ogre 1's just his career like from tournament perspective, it's pretty dang similar to Dave's in terms of like how winning they were and like what titles they won in and all that stuff, so I had to include him in there. Ola, just the impact he had on the game. Obviously, he's right there. And my last honorable mention would have been Elamite for dominating Halo 3, but it was just that one title. But he was so good in Halo 3 and Halo 2. Obviously, you got to win in there too. I'm thinking about wins, Faisal. But for me, when it comes to, so I'll just go down the line. I mean, Lethal. What needs to be said? This kid has been on every team that he's been on since Reach has been winning tournaments, right? So he's won in Halo Reach, he's won in Halo 5, he's won in H2A, so it's for me, it's all about the body of work, and winning across multiple titles is not easy. We've seen so many pros really, have their day, have their moment, and not transition the best, right? We saw Strong Side won tournaments in Halo 2, then won one tournament in Halo 3, and never won again. Snipe Down, we talk about, won tournaments in Halo 3. I don't even know if he won, and won a couple in Halo 5, right?
Halo 5
but had like a gap there,
He
of
won
like
in Halo 4.
I'm not even including Halo 4 in my list of tournaments, bro. I'm leaving that out completely.
There was a competitive scene, and him and Ambush were, they were winning. So whatever.
Dude, I got third place in a Halo 4 tournament, bro. Like, there was no one else playing. It was like Ambush. Yeah, there was. But
I'm under the impression that it was not competitive, and that is
Faisal's just saying this because of that.
I'll go grab Richie Hines and ask him if Richie tells me every time.
I don't think you count it. You don't count it on your score. You don't count it on your wins.
I don't count my Halo 4 wins.
You don't count
Faisal
them,
just
but I think in
conversation
it can be mentioned, like to like, for example, you're saying Snipe Down. He did good Halo 3, and he won some Halo 5. I think it's reasonable to be like, oh, and for what it's worth, he was also winning the Halo 4 stuff. Like, I feel like it's okay to throw that in that.
But he didn't win in Reach, and did he win in H2A? I don't remember.
No.
But no, he didn't win in H2A, right?
Yeah, he did. He was on that EG roster.
Oh yeah, what the hell?
Oh yeah.
They ran.
Yeah. Never mind.
Yeah. He ran H2A, and then they were running H5 in the beginning too.
Yeah.
Snipe Down dominated for a while.
No, he's good. I'm just saying, like,
I can't go medals.
I'm just talking about the dips is all I'm saying. Like, between game to game, like, a lot of players have had to work themselves back to a position. Not a lot of people stay at the top of the mountain from game to game to game instantly, like Lethal has throughout his career. When he climbed to the top, and when he got to the top, he's pretty much just sat there this entire time. For me, Ogre 2, dude, I mean, the amount of wins that man racked up in Halo 1, Halo 2, he got his one Halo 3 win, and then winning a bunch in Reach with that Instinct roster that was super dominant with Ola and the Twins. So, like, these dudes, just the length of their prowess is just speaks for itself,
Yeah, he got more than one Halo 3 win, right?
Yeah.
Oh, at the end. Sorry, I was thinking about.
Three straight.
Yeah, at the end they won 3 straight. I was thinking about the one in 08 in the beginning.
He won. He started off winning Halo 3, then he ended up winning Halo 3.
Yeah, that's a total brain fart on my mind. But, like, yeah, it's one of those things where we saw these players that were transcendent talents, whatever you want to call them, find a way to win from game to game to game to game to game. But it was hard to leave Ola off, man. I'm not gonna lie. It was hard to leave Ola off. It was hard to leave Ogre 1 off. Like I said, Elamite, with what he did in Halo 3, but it's such a contained, space. That run with Instinct, the run with Straight. T Squared, when you want to talk about impact players, that man had his face on 2 million Dr. Pepper bottles. Like,
he was in my thought process as well, just but hit the longevity and the skill and, like, the actual, because at the end of the day, it's like, the question is for, I think the biggest factor is the skill and kind of how good you were at the game.
Yeah.
Which is why when West put Snakebite over Walsh, I can see that argument very clearly. But with the outside factors that Walsh has play an impact, I ultimately think that the skill set plays, a much bigger.
It's funny to me though. It's funny to me though that Wes will poke at Dave though, because, like, Wes and I both played Halo 2. Like, do you remember the stuff that Dave was doing to us in Halo 2? Like, that guy was still nasty at the time.
That's the thing, is, like, Dave was doing that in Halo 2, but, like, when I compare
Halo 1,
Snakebite, like, Snakebite was doing that in, like, at the end of 3, Snakebite was good.
Mm-hmm.
In Reach, he was a god. In H2A, he was a god. In 5, he was a god. Like, it's like the consistency that he was able to be a god across multiple titles.
Yeah.
Dave was like, I mean, you could say Halo 1 and Halo 2, but it's like,
Big.
Dude, Dave was like Snakebite's age now, though, when he was in playing Halo 2. Like, you know what I mean? Like, age does factor in, I will say, like, when it comes to that stuff. And I think, you know, Father Time is undefeated. We hear it in sports all the time. You know, gaming obviously is a little bit different.
Just won a major. Father Time might
golf.
be giving up because Tom Brady won a Super Bowl and Phil Mickelson just won a major.
LeBron just won a championship.
Yeah. LeBron is 36. I mean, he's not ancient.
No,
50,
but in
50 though is
basketball
impressive.
terms,
Yeah,
relative to basketball.
That's a lot of minutes he's got on his track.
He does. So yeah, I had to, like I said, but I had to include Snakebite on there because of the things that Wes said. Because I felt like in Halo 5, like the impact that those guys had in Halo 5 can't be understated. Like they made that game boring because it was like every tournament going in, we knew exactly what was going to happen until 2018. Basically, we knew exactly who was going to win.
I view Snakebite like the father of the Halo scene right now, like the competitive Halo scene, right? Like what he is, what Dave Walsh was to the Halo, like to the competitive pro players back then. Now, but and I think that he's been that for maybe a little bit longer than what Dave was back then, because like once Roy and Lunch were gone, like that torch was passed to him, right? Like as a like when I speak for pro player, and like I think that they acknowledge that to an extent. I mean, not there's some people out there that probably aren't the biggest fans of PJ that are competing against him, but they will acknowledge that like when he tweets some stuff, like his opinion, like it's probably felt heavier amongst a percentage of the community. Yeah,
there's weight to it. There's a gravitas to PJ. I think if you don't understand the position he's in, it's easy to want to dislike him or whatever. But I think he understands the position he's in. I think he understands the voice that he has, and he uses it where he needs to. You know, so you can't not respect that. You know, and obviously, like you said, if you're competing against him, you're gonna hate the guy. Period. Yeah. You know, we've all played him in tournaments. It's not fun. He's an incredible talent.
I don't know if I lost him.
But
don't start that up.
But you know, I really like the discussion. You know, the Mount Rushmore. We look at it in terms of skill. We look at it in terms of you know, impact the player has had. Faisal, was there anybody that you wanted to give an honorable mention to that you know was hard that you wanted to include in your list outside of Snakebite, like you mentioned?
No, I mean it'd have to be Snakebite. Like I said, T-Square was hovering in my thought, but I think that was my own kind of bias coming into it rather than trying to be objective and looking at it because, like, I think I've mentioned it a few times on the podcast, T-Squared and that straight ripping team in Halo 3 had a big impact on my love for Halo and competitive gaming, kind of the way they were marketed and the way they were advertised and the straight house and their commercials and Dr. Pepper, all that kind of stuff. Or was it Dr. Pepper?
It was Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, Dr. Pepper. They had a few sponsors. But ultimately, my top four was like I feel really good about that, and Snakebite has to be that honorable fifth mention. Yeah.
I love the fact that all our top fours were so similar to Wes. Anybody you want to throw out there before we close this thing up?
Yeah, the only one's like Dave, right? And we're talking about specific like players specifically, not like talent that could have potentially really grown the scene. But yeah, I think that's the fair argument is those five. Anybody else, I don't think really had either the longevity or the impact that really would have hit home. I think we did a good job here. Nothing too disrespectful. So
I think I want to also honorable mention. I want to also honorable mention Snipe Down. Cool. He's an honorable mention on mine as well.
If you include Snipe Down, then in my opinion, it's got to extend to the Twins too. I mean, they both were.
Yeah, but going into infinite, they're still infinite.
You know? With that being said, on my ex, thank you guys so much for watching episode 43. We want to know from you, though. Let us know in the comments below who's on your Mount Rushmore. Even if you already tweeted it at HCS, we want to know here in the YouTube comments as well as on the tweet. Be sure to hit the subscribe button with the bell icon so you get notified when we have these episodes out. Thank you for watching, sticking with us for 43 episodes of On My Ex. Faisal, have fun in Cali. Be safe, brother. See you next week. Peace, guys.